good morning. Buenos dias. Hello, good morning, Eva, Liz, Rachel, Toponia, Michael, Nick, David, Sarah, Philip, Reagan's coming online, Emma's here. Hello, Claudia. Hello, Glenn. Good to see everybody. Thank you so much for spending your Saturday morning with us. We are honored and happy and grateful, and we've got some good information to share with you today. So welcome, everyone. Just give it a few more minutes. If you want to pop in the chat what you're hoping to learn about today, we'd love to hear from you. While we just let a few more people come in, we're still admitting folks from the waiting room. Everyone knows where the chat is. We will be referencing the chat. So if you're on a device where that could be tricky, I'd encourage you to locate the chat now so that you can easily find it when we ask you to, or we put resources in there. We also have some polls. So we're going to be engaging with you. Hopefully you're able to do that. If not, no problem. We're just happy you're joining us. Still got folks coming in. Martha and Eric, Suzanne, welcome. Phil, welcome. Very happy you all are here. Saturday morning, beautiful Saturday morning in Sonoma County out there. So gorgeous. I have a relative staying from Austin, Texas, and they're like, I don't want to go home. It's 100 degrees. Thank you for putting that in the chat about what you're looking to learn today. If you, anyone else feels like sharing, you've got about 1 more minute to do that. And then we'll do introductions really quick, and then we'll jump into our presentation. We know you guys have plans, gardening, beach, important stuff, family, dog walking, road tripping. Okay, welcome everybody. 1 more person in the waiting room. If you have time, please put it, or if you have access, please put what you're hoping to learn about today in the chat. And we have another slide later on where we're going to ask you a poll. So we've got some Zoom polls here. I don't know if you've done that before. En yo hablo español. Si necesitan hablar en español, ustedes por favor díganme. Podemos, hablar al lado. Yo soy Genoveva. Mucho gusto. Nice to meet everybody. Okay, let's get started. And this is where we will edit all that out, because my ridiculous emceeing does not need to be recorded and memorialized. My name is Genevieve. I am the outreach manager for Sonoma County Permit Sonoma Department. And I have 2 colleagues with me, but we are very happy you're here. Oh, we're seeing we're seeing strange stuff, Carleon. We don't have full presentation view. We just had it perfectly, of course, and now that we're live, it's going to take a minute. Misha, you want to introduce yourself? There you go. That's perfect, Carleon. Thank you.
Great. Hello, everyone. Good morning. My name is Misha Bailey. I am with our FEMA team at Permit Sonoma. I am in charge of overall administrative elements of our FEMA grants, and you're going to learn more today about our 2 Wildfire Adapted FEMA grants.
And I'm Carleon Stafford, and I am also a program manager with Misha, but my side is the fire side. So I have many years of experience in how not to have your house burned down in a wildfire. And so that's my side of things, is sort of looking at how we're doing the programs we're doing, the inspections, the assessments, and so on.
Do we have any other Sonoma County staff members here or any elected officials that wanted to let us know about their knowledge base they're bringing today? Okay. Can everyone see Carleon's screen? She's sharing. All right. Thank you. Thanks, Carleon. Take it away.
So what we're going to be doing today is we have already done check number one. We're going to be talking a little bit about the programs in general and what we're trying to do and what they provide. And then Misha will be addressing specifically your questions about the rebate program and when is this going to start. And then we'll just have a brief and we'll talk about some other things that are also available to help you prepare for wildfire in general. So that's what we'll be doing. Genevieve, you can ask Genevieve if you need a Spanish translation, please do. We are monitoring the chat, so if you put questions in the chat, we can either answer them live or they will be an answer typed in. There's time for Q&A at the end, but we also don't mind one bit. In fact, we kind of like it if you ask your questions at the end of each segment, because that way you get to ask them when they're still fresh in your mind. And by being here today, you are eligible if you put your email into the chat for a Freeman's home improvement gift card. And does that go in the chat or do we want them to fill out?
No, we will be, we're going to give you a survey at the end of our program. It's a Survey Monkey survey, and it also asks just for feedback on how we did today, if there's anything else we can do differently. And you'll be asked to enter your email and your phone number, and that information will be specifically used to send slides from today's presentation and also to enter you into the Freedman's Home Improvement gift card. Anybody who attends a webinar and or fills out the interest survey. So you have up to 2 chances to win. So if you attend a webinar and do the survey, you're entered in twice, and there's 3 gift cards. So you have 3 chances to win. And if you fill out the interest survey and attend a webinar, you get in there twice. So your chances are good. And we'll be contacting you through the email or contact information you give us at the end of the program via the Survey Monkey.
Thanks, Genevieve. All right, so today we're going to be talking about our programs that we have going at Permit Sonoma to help our communities prepare for wildfire. Basically, we have 2 ways that we can reduce risk to homes and lives from wildfire. We can treat the homes so that wildfire can pass by without igniting them. And that is what we call the house out approach. So that's starting with the house, working outwards 5 feet, 30 feet, 100 feet, and stopping at the defensible space distance of 100 feet. And the other way that we can approach this is through landscape scale shaded fuel breaks and things like that. Those fuel breaks placed around communities can help slow or stop the intensity of an advancing wildfire so that firefighters on the ground can have a much better chance of extinguishing them as they move forward. However, copious research over the last decade especially has really shown us that where the bang for the buck is for not having homes ignite, it is solidly on the house outside. You can have a fuel break, it's not going to stop embers, but if your home and your landscape is treated to be resilient, that's what can keep your house from burning down. So that's what the focus of Wildfire Adapted Sonoma County is. And that's what we'll be talking about today. We also have the hazardous fuels reduction project at the same time because those landscape shaded fuel breaks are also super important, not only from a fire standpoint, but because our forests need the help of a little attention. And so these 2 things should be done simultaneously. That's what we've been working towards. So we have these 2 programs, and those have led us into the larger Wildfire Resilient Sonoma County project, which is using both of these approaches in 3 landscapes across the county. That's going to be kicking off in the next year or so. But for now, what we're going to be talking about today is Wildfire Adapted Sonoma County. All of our projects together, we are impacting almost 100,000 acres in Sonoma County, which is great, 16,000 parcels. Through the Wildfire Adapted, the hazardous fuels, and through the BRIC. We're pretty excited about the things that we can do with the funding that has come, unfortunately, with the disasters of the last 10 years that we've experienced. So Wildfire Adapted Sonoma County, which is why you're all here today, is solidly a house out program. It doesn't have a wildland fuels component. And what it is 2 phased projects that has 14 project areas, and we'll be showing a map with those in a second. Phase 1 of it is all the assessment and planning. How do we make this work stuff for phase 2? So we've been doing our defensible space and structure hardening assessments. And those assessments, which are great for education and outreach. This is how you can really learn what to do. And those provide the basis for the $10,000 rebate program, which is a part of phase 2 of the program, which will be coming in the next couple of years or so. And Misha will be talking a lot more about that moving forward. So those project areas, we have 2 different grants for Wildfire Adapted. 1 and 2, there are different grants, different budgets, but it's pretty much exactly the same program. Wildfire Adapted 1 project areas are all of these areas in the purple circles, all the way around the county from Grove Street to Timber Cove and Cloverdale. In these areas, we've been doing home hardening consultations. There are still a few remaining. Can't recommend enough you sign up for that. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. And we have also done defensible space assessments already in these areas, and we're now starting to encourage folks to sign up for a second round for their defensible space. Wildfire Adapted 2, smaller project areas. They're in the teal here. This is in the Mill Creek area, Cazadero, Rio Nito. So this is a much smaller project footprint, but does do the same stuff. Because this was not only a smaller footprint, but also a smaller budget, we have sold out of our free home hardening consultations in Project 2 areas, but you can still get a consultation for your defensible space, and that will make you eligible for the defensible space rebate program. So here are all of the project areas. And Genevieve, do you have a poll?
Yeah, we want to see who's here today. So we have a quick poll asking which neighborhood or project area you live in. So hopefully you all can see the poll. It's been launched. Looks like got a few from the Cloverdale Vineyards area. Pitch Mountain showing up. Rio Nito in the house. Rincon Valley, Old Casadero Road. Got a few from the Forestville Hacienda area. Hope you can see the poll, everybody. Give you just another minute or so. About 64% of you have found the poll and taken it. So I'll give you just another minute. Hopefully you can let us know where you're at. And there is a none of the above option. It looks like we have 3 folks so far that are not in an eligible area, but there's still stuff to learn here. You never know what's down the line. We appreciate you being here.
These project areas, while we're waiting, those were developed using a variety of factors. First and foremost, risk. So we did a GIS exercise, which showed us where we have dense housing in close proximity to very high fire risk, according to the CAL FIRE. So that was our first cut. Our second cut was areas that have a lot of activity already in the wildfire space, and consultations with the local chiefs.
So you should be seeing the results, and later on in the program, we're going to, and I put it in the wait room if you showed up early, we're going to show you exactly how to locate your address on a map and see where you are near a project area, and hopefully you are in one.
All righty, thank you. So next slide. So if what we need to do is not have houses burned down, reduce risk. How exactly do we do that? Well, we do that through defensible space and structure hardening, which are both incredibly important. I sort of lean to the side of the structure hardening as the most important thing that we can get done, with the exception of zone 0 in defensible space. Zone 0 is going to be a new requirement for those of you who lived in the state responsibility areas in the next year or so. And that is basically that we need you to create a non-combustible zone within 5 feet of your house and out from attachments like decks. The reason that this has made it all the way to California Building Code is, or the, excuse me, the Defensible Space Code, is that this has clearly been shown with the research of the last couple of years to be the most important thing when it comes to ignitions to homes from embers. And we'll be talking more about that in a second, and I'll show you a great example of why this is so important. So we're working on those zone 0 areas, non-combustible surfaces, combustible plants moved out, and especially combustible items, which people don't tend to see, I find. So that's within 5 feet of your home. Zone 1 out to 30 feet. The way to think about that zone is lean, clean, and green. You want it to be pretty green. You want to limb up trees. You want to separate brush so it's not going to lead fire up into a tree, and so that the fire can't follow brushy growth straight across horizontally right to your house. So lean, clean, and green, get out the dead stuff, limb stuff up, separate stuff. Zone 2 is the wildland fuels reduction area. In that area, you can have a lighter touch. You're mostly just after dead and dying surface fuels or dead trees. And again, limbing up and separating stuff as you can. Zone 2 can be very difficult to implement for many of us in Sonoma County. And these requirements for defensible space are regulated by both the Public Resource Code 4291 and Sonoma County Code Chapter 13A, which apply to different areas. And I'm not going into the gory details, but if you have questions, ask me. It's basically, is it local responsibility area or state responsibility area, which code applies? So those are regulated by code, as opposed to structure hardening, which is not regulated by code unless you are doing a new build or a substantial rebuild. So nobody is forcing you to do anything to your structure for the sake of wildfire. But your structure is really vulnerable. In fact, your home is probably the most vulnerable thing on your landscape when it comes to igniting. What we're really after there, again, because it was so important, I said it twice, zone 0, please do your zone 0. That is fundable under the program. Zone 0, the roof should be class A and within the sell by date, which means that if you bought a 20-year roof and it's been on there for 30 years, that is no longer a class A roof. So you need to figure out what kind of roof is on there. Is it class A or not? And if it is class A, how long has it been up there? People typically don't know that, and you might need to get a consult with a roofer to figure that out. Vents are a very common cause of home ignition because the code for vents used to be for 1/4 inch mesh. And if you have embers the size of a grain of rice, they can get right through there, blow into your attic, and your house will burn from the inside out. So covering with 1/8 inch or less, or using a WUI compliant material, super important. Wooden attachments like decks, fences. We've really seen what a problem fences are. When you have a combustible fence that goes straight up to the house, that's a big problem. And you can break the continuity by just attaching a non-combustible element at the end where it gets to the house. Windows should be dual paned. Siding, which is always the first thing everybody thinks of when I say structure hardening, is actually kind of a lower level priority because risk to the siding, if the siding is relatively intact and in good shape, the risk to the siding is pretty easily mitigated by especially the zone 0, but also the 30-foot zone. So you might have to eventually think about replacing your siding, but as the list of priorities go, that 0 to 5 and the roof are definitely important. And really what we're talking about here is the problem of embers. And most of us think of wildfire as the big giant thing coming, destroying everything in its path, blah, 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 because that's what the media shows us. When they show us fires, that's what they show, and helicopters and dropping the red stuff and all of that. When in fact, 90% of home ignitions during wildland fires are caused by things the size of a pea, which have blown in with the winds which go with wildfires, land on something, especially in that 0 to 5 foot non-combustible zone, which hopefully you will create, and they can slowly smolder away. The firefighters have been there chasing after the fire. If you're lucky, by the time that ember ignites the whatever, they are gone. And let me show you what that looks like where in the real world. This is an old video, not great quality. It was probably filmed with a handy cam the size of a Volkswagen. We have a fire. We have firefighters on scene. We have a pile of stuff, and wait, something's on fire. What is that? Oh, it's a push broom. That was a push broom. Now, would this wildland fire have taken this house out? I see other vulnerabilities on this house for sure, but not necessarily. But would that broom have taken that house out? You better believe it would have. Absolutely. That broom was on fire. It's going to catch all that stuff on fire. The garbage cans were there. It's under a wooden deck, up against a wooden wall. You bet your booty. That house would have been taken out by a broom. And this is really, if I could get you to do one thing, it's to walk around your house, do a hot lap, really look for anything within 5 feet of your home that might cause that problem. So as soon as you're done listening to us today, do your hot lap around your house. That's what we do as firefighters. It's better if you do it before it gets there. Okay, so how have we been doing this? We are doing our education and outreach through assessments, which we're now calling consultations because we like that word better. So we're using both of them now. All of you should have received your defensible space assessment already. These are based on applicable local code, where this is this is a carrot program. There are two ways we can get people to do this work. We can either use a carrot approach and give you advantages and education, or we can use the stick approach, which is to throw violations at you and forcible abatement. This is not a stick program. This is a carrot program. So we are not doing code compliance in these assessments. What we're trying to do is educate you about what to do and the order in which to do it. So you should have gotten that defensible space, but there are places, if there's a gate or a no trespassing sign, that we might not have gotten your defensible space assessment done. So you should contact us if you haven't seen anything from us about that. And I'm going to show you that form in a second. Assessments for defensible space were done both on built or improved parcels, but we also can look at unimproved parcels, which are also eligible for rebates to do work on the unimproved parcels, about to thin fuels 30 feet from roadways and adjoining structures on separate parcels. So you should have gotten both assessments. And this is, again, defensible space assessment. We've covered everybody already. You are eligible for defensible space rebates, and they're on improved and unimproved properties. Now, the form that you would have received from your assessment would look like either one of these. This would be the Wildfire 1 area, and then we changed that up for Wildfire 2. So if you want to see a copy of this, if you're not sure you got it, please contact us at our email address, which I'll be sending in a few seconds. We'll have that on a slide, and I think Genevieve will put it in the chat. Email us with your property address, preferably your APN, but your address is okay too. And we will make sure that you got that assessment. And if you didn't, we will schedule a reassessment with you. Structure hardening assessments are different because remember what I said about defensible space is regulated by code? That's why we can go out and do these in everybody's yard without them asking us to do so, because as a regulatory agency, that's part of our mission, is to do those inspections. structure hardening, because it's not regulated by code, you need to tell us that you want that. So it's a completely separate assessment that you had to opt in for. So that structure hardening assessments were done by a contractor working for us who was awesome, Madronis, and their structure reports look something like this. You can either look at them online or download it. Very, very, very comprehensive reports that usually come up with lots and lots and lots of different, very small vulnerabilities on your property. Very specific. For example, this is attic vents. So this property has all of these attic vents. Most of his were compliant, except for this one, which had a screen larger than 1/4 inch. So it goes to this level of detail. So we know that this one isn't okay and should be replaced. All of these are okay. Cannot recommend these enough. Would love to know how many of you've had your structure assessment. We have a poll for that in a second, right, Genevieve?
Yep. Yes,
Oh,
we do.
oh, great. So we're going to ask you if you've had that. So here, oh, this is where it goes. I remember now. This, so now, if you're in a Wildfire Adapted 1 area, you can still sign up for one of our 200 remaining structure hardening assessments, which you will need to have if you want to do construction work, structure hardening work for your rebate. If you've had a defensible space assessment, it'd be great if you can schedule a reassessment now, because it's probably been a while since we did it. What we're doing now is we are scheduling with those of you who are interested, so that our awesome staff will go to your house and talk through the process of what you should do for your defensible space, and also help you think about prioritizing for the rebate program as we move towards that. So please email us to schedule that defensible space assessment. Go to SoCoAdapts to schedule your structure hardening assessment.
Thank you, Carolyn. So we have a poll that's being taken right now by our participants. We've got about 65% of the folks have taken it. And it looks like of that, almost everyone has done their assessment, their home hardening assessment. So kudos, great job. We're so excited, and we're going to talk about what's next for you. We also have a couple of questions in the chat. One says, if defensible space assessment wasn't done due to access issues, can it still be done?
That's what I'm talking about. Email us at this email address, and we will contact you. So leave us your best contact information. We'll contact you to schedule a time that you can meet on site with our awesome inspectors to get that done. And if you're not sure if you got that inspection, or you don't have the form, or it was a while ago, can't recommend enough that you reschedule an assessment. So just pop us an email at wildfireadapted@sonomacounty.org, or give us a call at 565-8575, and we will schedule that defensible space assessment or reassessment for you.
Awesome. And another question was asking about fire resistant paints to reduce deck flammability. And I did put in from our last webinar, Carolyn, that WUI CAL FIRE product list
Right,
that you
and
discussed.
you will not find paints on the CAL FIRE product list because they really haven't been adequately tested yet. Generally speaking, experts in the field thus far, and the problem with the paints is there are a couple of problems with them. That there hasn't been a lot of testing yet, and there certainly hasn't been a lot of testing for how long they last. Do you have to reapply that paint every year? Right now, that's what it looks like. And the experts that I work with, such as Dr. Steve Quarles, would say that what you need to do is fix the vulnerability, don't cover it up. And so in general, that's where we're going, because those projects aren't listed. They aren't on the approved project list for Wildfire Adapted.
Oh, okay. Good to
When
know.
they
So that doesn't qualify.
when the testing is done and they're listed on that WUI products building list that Genevieve put in the chat, then we would certainly consider doing that. But for this program, no, you need to fix those vulnerabilities in other ways. And there are other ways of addressing risks on decks.
Another question was about the long-term maintenance that's needed for wildfire resilient measures. And I don't know, how much you want to get to it, but she's looking for a checklist or routine, an annual checklist or routine that a property owner could follow to keep up what they've done through this program or others.
That's a great question, and one I really hadn't thought of. It's going to be, a lot of it's going to be visual inspections. If you've replaced your vents, you want to take a look at them, make sure that the screening is still complete. There aren't any holes in it. Conversely, the wasps hasn't gotten in there and covered them up. Vent screening is really important, that it's small enough to keep the embers out. But the reason we have vents is that the airflow that they provide to the house is critical for moisture, right? So you have to make sure that if you're using these finer screens, you're not getting spider webs and they're getting clogged up and the airflow isn't happening. The rest of it, I think, would mostly be kind of visual inspections. Does it look okay? Does it look like it's starting to degrade wood? But is that address your question, or are you looking for something else?
We can come back to it. Let's keep moving. I also want just to acknowledge that I have seen other questions in the chat, but I think they're going to be covered at different points. So I am tracking those questions, and if they're not addressed directly, I'll interject those questions at that time. So let's just keep going.
All right. So we want to talk a little bit more about the project, and these projects are first of a kind for us and for our funder, FEMA and Cal OES. They're precedent setting, and they're incredibly complex to put on the road. And I'll tell you what, our brand new shiny Ford, at time we felt like we were sailing on the, just sit right back and you're here, like on the SS Minnow, right? Because it has taken so much longer than we expected it to take. So we wanted to acknowledge that and tell you that this walk in the park that I thought this was going to be, in my naivete, when I said, I know, let's get some money and do this thing, it has felt much more like a trip up Everest with ice axes. So we have really been learning a lot. We're doing a lot. We've inspired people across the country, actually, to do similar programs. We've completed more than 10,000 assessments for defensible space and structure hardening, done a lot of community outreach. We're fully staffed at this point, which is huge. Our last person comes on next week. I'm so excited. And another really big thing that I just want to touch on really quick is the VTP EIR that we have completed for the project. Oops, I forgot to hit that one. There's light at the end of the tunnel. So the VTP EIR, this was a really big deal. We have completed CEQA for all of the project areas for all of our projects. This is huge. This is a 550-page document, which is awesome. And one of the really good things to know about this document is that if you are a resident within one of these grant areas, you can also use this to help you get your CEQA compliance completed for any projects that you're working on outside of Wildfire Adapted. So I don't want to go into a lot of detail about this, but please feel free to ask questions later if you have some. This is an awesome achievement that we've done. And we really appreciate your patience through this project. We do understand how much patience it has taken. We know this is taking longer than you had thought or we had thought. We do understand the urgency that all of us live under in Sonoma County. We have red flag coming to some of the county this weekend. Insurance is becoming very difficult. We get the urgency, and we are swimming as fast as we can to make our projects here part of the solution. And we do hope that we can keep things moving along really quickly. But we do apologize that it has taken as long as it has. And believe me, it is not because we haven't been working. All right. Misha.
Okay. So this next part of our presentation is going to go into nuts and bolts related to the rebate program, timeline, next steps, and basically what we know right now about the rebate program, which is a work in progress. So a lot of the comments in the very beginning about what folks were hoping to learn about relates to the information we're going to cover right now. And we're excited to share with you what we know right now. And as Caroline covered, these are 2-phase projects. There's a phase 1 and a phase 2. We are in phase 1 still. Phase 1 is ending at the end of this calendar year, at the end of 2024. And the term phase 1, phase 2 can be confusing. It can feel kind of meaningless but it's really important terminology, because these programs we're implementing are federally funded. They're funded by FEMA grant programs, and phase 1, phase 2 is a term of art to those grant programs that specifically defines different types of activities. So we are in phase 1, which has no ground disturbance and no implementation activities. And these are the types of accomplishments we've completed in phase 1, which are still impressive and have taken a team to achieve. And these are still precedent-setting accomplishments that, that are, believe it or not, we are at the forefront of these types of projects across the country. So we have built a team that has accomplished over 7,600 defensible space assessments through these programs, over 2,300 home hardening assessments. That figure is including full home hardening assessments that you have to opt into, which Caroline discussed. And we'll actually go over how you can sign up for those, for those on the call that haven't already. And this home hardening figure also includes curbside assessments, which we included towards the end of last year, where the home inspectors are assessing risks they can just see from the public right-of-way. So that's helped bring a lot of people into the program and learn about the program. And we also continue to do in-person and virtual presentations, either that we host or we join existing community events, and we're always happy to do these. So if you are a part of community groups that want these kinds of presentations to learn more about our program that are relevant to your community, just reach out and we're happy to do that. Right, next slide. So where are we going next? What is happening with the rebate program? We promise, well, actually we can't promise, but we intend that there will be rebates. But when will those rebates happen? The rebates are a part of phase 2. We're still in phase 1, and phase 1 is ending this calendar year. Now, what does it mean for phase 1 to end? There's 2 steps that we have to complete for phase 1 to end. The first step is the public-facing step, which is all program activities will complete by the end of 2024. Our assessments are going to end, both types of assessments are going to end by the end of 2024. Our detailed planning for phase 2 will end by 2024. Right after that, we have to package our detailed plans for phase 2 and send that to Cal OES and FEMA. And that's the second step for completing phase 1. That's just an internal step, but it is still important and it still takes time. That's going to happen in early 2025. So phase 1 ends for us in early 2025. Now, what happens next? We don't know how long it's going to take for the next step. We don't know how long FEMA will take to decide to fund phase 2. 6 months, 12 months, more, less. They won't make a commitment. And as we've said, these are precedent-setting projects, so we don't have other projects like this to look towards and see what happened. So we will be the first of this type of project that FEMA has to consider and then and then commit funds for phase 2. They have already preliminarily approved the phase 2 type of activities, so we're confident they are eligible activities, they support phase 2, and we're confident that it will end up getting funded. We hope that 12 months is a conservative estimate. Once FEMA funds phase 2, if that does take 12 months, that will be early 2025. I'm sorry, early 2026. We will then take some internal steps to get the fires lit and the machine rolling again. And then the public will see the rebate program actually launched. So fingers are crossed that that will be mid-2026. That sounds really far away from now. It is really far away from now. And kind of just, it's an unfortunate situation when we have federally funded projects. Now, we'll get into a little bit more of that in the next slide for why that's the case. So what do we expect from the rebate program? The most important thing to take away for today is that we're building the detailed plans for the rebate program this year. That means it's not done yet. We don't exactly know how it's all going to work, and what we say today could, what ends up happening could be different than what we say today. So rebate program again is part of phase 2, and it will launch, we're hoping, by early to mid 2026. What do we expect the steps will be in the rebate program? First, rebate program, oh, sorry, Karen.
Sorry.
Oh, no, good. First, the rebate program opens, applications are accepted, folks that are on our email list easily get notifications, mailers go out to everyone in the project areas, the news is spread wide and far, our online portal's very easy, and it's super seamless for folks to decide to apply to the rebate program. That's our intention. Step number 1, property owners apply, and our team checks applications for eligibility. And most importantly, the nature of the requested project. So for our rebate program, projects will be approved if they're in alignment with the highest priority risks on that specific parcel from the assessment information. And this is why it's number 1, critical to get a home hardening assessment if you anticipate wanting financial support for home hardening types of projects, because we can't give a home hardening rebate if there hasn't been a home hardening assessment. And number 2, it's critical, it's very important to get a defensible space reassessment, so we can update the defensible space vulnerabilities and strengths of your specific parcel. So step number 2, our team will work collaboratively with the applicant to determine your project's highest priority risks and modify the project you're applying for as needed. Our rebate team will visit your property to confirm, to take pre-implementation pictures and confirm the priority project. After that completes, step number 3, applications accepted. Then property owner will have to sign a contract with the county that will include some fine print we'll go over in a moment. Step number 4 is question mark. And there were some questions in the chat about contractors, approved contractors. So part of what we're doing this year is figuring out what we're going to do with step number 4. There's 2 options we're evaluating for the program, and there's a lot of pros and cons to both options, and we're trying to figure out what would be best for you, our community members. Path number 1 is that property owners select their own contractor from a list of approved contractors. That would require property owners getting multiple bids, which is not ideal, very hard in this construction environment. And property owners working with the county to manage the work, make sure the work is done correctly, and property owner paying for the work up front. The second option is that the county hires and manages their own contractors and deploys those contractors to do the approved application project scope. on your private property. So those are the two paths we're weighing for step number 4. Either way, there will be a final inspection, step number 5, confirming the work was done correctly. And if property owner had to pay upfront for the work, then step number 6 will happen and the rebate check will be provided to the property owner for the approved amount. So that's what we know right now about how the rebate program is going to work. Here's some fine print, some really important points we know right now that we want to make sure everyone understands. Number 1, no work that is performed right now is eligible for the rebate program. This is really important for a couple of reasons. Again, these are federally funded programs, which means all work that's completed by these federally funded programs has to undergo NEPA, National Environmental Policy Act review, and CEQA, California Environmental Quality Act. So both federal and state environmental protection laws have to be fully satisfied and analyzed before federal money can do this work. That takes a long time. We have completed CEQA now, and now we have to do NEPA with our federal partners. So no work that is performed before a property owner has applied to the program, been accepted, and completed a signed contract will be eligible for this reimbursement program. Some other fine print, the application period, once it opens in 2026, will only be open for a specific period of time, and then it's going to close. So that means it's really important for everyone that's interested to get on our email list so we have an easy way to contact you. Applications are going to be accepted first come, first served. Payouts are going to happen first come, first served. So make sure you stay in touch with us, get on our email list, and can be in the know. Everyone that has completed an interest survey, which is open throughout this year, we'll talk about that more in a second, will get priority application review. So fill out your interest survey. Project contract. We know that contract with the county is going to include some items like a commitment to maintain the work that the program has paid for. So that's related to one of the maintenance questions above. There will be a commitment for the property owner to maintain whatever work is completed under the program. Also, this IRS W-9 form situation, if we go that first route where property owner hires their own contractor, pays for the work themselves up front, and then receives a reimbursement check, that reimbursement check, we believe, so far we've been told it's taxable, and therefore there'll be an IRS W-9 form. If we go the other route where county manages and deploys their own contractor, there won't be a payment directly to property owner, so it will not be a taxable financial incentive. And there'll be, in the signed contract, there'll be detailed specs or specifications regarding the type of approved work in your project. There may also be a property owner match commitment. Okay. Before I move into these, we have 4 slides, starting with this one, about action steps you can take right now. And before I go there, are there any questions folks have about rebate program timing and next steps? Because now is a good moment to ask that stuff. I've shared everything we know about the rebate program.
There was a couple of questions in the chat earlier. It said we had an assessment. When will rebates be coming? So I think you covered that. And how will the priorities be set for those who apply?
Yeah, great question. So right now we know we're most likely, again, not 100% certain on this, but most likely going with a first come, first serve approach for applications. And we thought that even the home hardening assessments, the free home hardening assessments we've been offering for the last 1.5 years would be gobbled up right away, but they've actually been very hard to get the word out and get people to sign up for those. So we don't anticipate There may not be a wait list for rebates. There might be, again, another matter of just of us doing a massive outreach effort to encourage folks to make use of this opportunity. We expect to have about 500 rebates between the two WA1 and WA2 programs available across the county.
And if that question was referring to what are going to be the priority projects that we will fund with the rebate program, that's where the assessments come in. The Madronas structure hardening are very clearly prioritized. For the defensible space side, our first priority is zone 0. So creating that zone 0 non-combustible zone, and zone 1. Zone 2, which is from 30 to 100 feet, is typically going to be a lower priority if zone 0 and zone 1 are not perfectly compliant. So that's how we'll be working the defensible space. And that's it, because that's what's going to keep your house from burning down. And that is my crazy interest in all of this, is that I really want houses not to burn down when they don't have to. And the closer the fuel, the higher the risk. So we are mostly interested in those near home fuels. But that's why it'd be great to schedule that defensible space reassessment. And you can talk through all of that with the assessor. And you can also, by the way, in the rebates, you can do defensible space, structure hardening, or a combination of both, which might be an option that would be good for a lot of you. So those are all going to be based on what's the order of priority. If your vents are bad, and that's been shown by your Madronas inspection, and you're asking us for a gold-plated front door because that's what you've always wanted, that's going to be hard for us to justify. We need to show that these projects, that this federal money that we're spending is functional to do what we're trying to do, which is keep houses from igniting.
Okay, we have quite a few questions, and we also have more slides to do and a time check at 10:55. Just wanted to give you all a lay of the land. A few questions that have come in. If a county contractor is used, does the homeowner owe county for the costs?
So no, if we go that route where the county hires and deploys our own contractors for home hardening and defensible space work, that contractor would do the approved amount of work in the application up to the maximum rebate amount, which right now is anticipated to be $10,000. And the property owner would not owe the county for that work. If the property owner wants to do more work than that, and the county is deploying its own contractors up to that $10,000 limit, then there would be a gap, and that would be work that the property owner would be responsible for.
And they would likely pay the contractor directly, not the county, right?
Yeah, those are details we haven't worked out that do complicate which path we choose. And that's a part of our work this calendar year, because we have to figure that out before we package our plans for phase 2.
Exactly. But if we go the route of letting you pick a contractor, then you pay the contractor, and the rebate will pay you back after that, but you will have to pay the contractor.
Okay, next question says, given the delay between initial consultation and assessment, do you anticipate that we'll need a reevaluation of the home prior to getting the rebate? For example, if a homeowner decided to fix something themselves in the interim, yet has other lower priority items to fix?
Yes, there will be an assessment before the final contract period. We also will be at that point taking photographs so that we have a photographic record of before and after conditions. So yes.
And if you go back one slide, Caroline, and in the step slide. So again, this may change once the rebate program becomes live, and I'm sure there'll be a lot more detail filled in here. But step 2 on this slide is where we show where we're currently planning. There's that window of working with the property owner and specifically customizing the project for the needs of the property at that time, based on whatever work the property owner's done beforehand. So yes, we expect that folks are dealing with a bunch of their risks right now, and the program's going to have to catch up with the good work you've been doing.
Thank you. On average, how long does it take for an application to be processed and approved once it has been submitted? Are there factors that could expedite or delay that process?
Yeah, great question. And we are, well, the program, we haven't reviewed any applications yet because the rebate program isn't live, and it won't be for a while. But we are working closely with another county partner that we'll talk about at the end of the slide, the Skype program, Sonoma County Energy Independence Program. They already have an application review process. And from my understanding, it's fairly efficient, fairly popular, and streamlined. And we're going to be mirroring their current process. So we expect that it, certainly, yes, there are factors that could expedite or delay that, and we're hoping to be on the expedite side of things.
And that is what we're working really hard on now, is making sure that this phase 2 part of the program works as easily as it can for you and the community.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is great that we have a Skype program that's already led the way a little bit on some of those processes. So we'll talk to you about that program. A couple of questions about approved contractor lists or resources for people, maybe even, do we have contractors that we are already have on an approved list that they could be working with now to reduce their risk?
No, and the county doesn't recommend contractors typically. So if you called us up and asked us for a recommendation, we're not going to be able to provide that to you. But if we're entering into an agreement with those contractors for the program, then that will be different. But yeah.
However, though, Caroline, doesn't the Skype program and their website will come at the very end of our presentations, but doesn't the Skype program have contractors?
Pre-approved.
So the Skype program does have a list of pre-approved contractors that do wildfire home hardening work.
Mm-hmm. But once we get the program going too, if we go that route, there'll be a whole training program for all the contractors as well, so that they really understand what it is that we're after, what we expect of their work, and so on. But those questions will be answered moving forward.
Mm-hmm. I see a question about how will applicants be notified about the status of their application at different stages. And again, we'll be partnering with Skype, and their process does include tools for exactly that. So they have a portal, an online portal that you enter, you create a username and a profile for yourself, and you can track all the status of your application. And we're expecting to have something very similar, if not the same.
There was an earlier question about grants available for private lands, or let's see what it was. Oh, sorry, I lost my question list. Private land and timber owners, can they do work on their own? And what point is a permit needed for this stuff?
This work only applies to the area within 100 feet of your home. We have a forester on site on staff who would be the person who would answer that, but this work will be outside of the scope of a timber harvest, I'm thinking. But feel free to email us at wildfireadapted@sonomacounty.org, and we can kick that around with our forester.
I would say the same is true for permitting. It's very specific to the project, the location, et cetera. So just contact the email there or the permitting office with your project in mind, and we'll answer your questions. I'll put that back in the chat now.
And as far as permitting for the structure hardening side, they will be as they would be. If you're getting a new roof on your house, you need a permit now, and you will need a permit for the rebate program as well. But one of the things that we're working on the backside is a streamlined permitting process that will make that easy and fast for you and the contractor doing the work.
Great. And then I see one more question that we can answer, and then we can go back to our slides. And that question is, will there be opportunities for applicants to provide feedback on the process? If so, how might this feedback influence future timelines and improvements to the grant program? And absolutely, we welcome feedback right now. You can send feedback directly to Wildfire Adapted at sonoma-county.org. And that's the primary way to, or you can call the phone number that's in the chat. Both of those are in the chat. And we welcome feedback. And certainly once the rebate program is live in phase 2 in 2026, there'll be many points of feedback, and we'll be soliciting and welcoming your feedback, because yes, we definitely want to learn and improve as we go. All right, next slides. So again, we're going to have 4 slides, starting with this one with action items you can take right now. Here's our calls to action. The first one is the interest survey, and we're going to have a poll in just a moment about this. I think, yes, okay. And this you can find on our website. Carolyn's going to actually walk us through that in just a couple of slides as well. There's a button that says take our interest survey, and then the image on the right shows you generally what it looks like. And this interest survey is very important for us for generating a list of interested properties for phase 2. It's helping us make the case to FEMA to fund phase 2. So when you fill out the interest survey, you are helping us unlock the funding that will actually make the rebate interest program a reality. So please, please, please take the interest survey, spread the word, tell your neighbors, get everyone. We want 1,000 or more folks to fill out this interest survey. And here's a poll about the interest survey. Give you just a minute to take that.
And there's no obligation with the interest survey. In other words, if you filled out the interest survey and you said, I want to do defensible space, but then you got your structure assessment and you decided to change that, you'll be able to change that in the application and contracting phases. So there's no obligation to participate. There's no obligation to stay with what you say. We just want to know that you on this parcel are interested in following up in this process.
Great. I'm seeing quite a few answers that are not sure if they've taken the rebate interest survey. So that's really helpful for us to know. And if you
go to the website and you try to fill it out and it says no, it will tell you if you've already done it. And you'll be seeing it in a minute, and that might trigger your memory. So we can deal with that when we're looking at the website.
Great. Okay. All right.
So we had about 30% of the people have, and about 45% of the people are not sure, and just a handful of people who haven't done it or haven't done it but plan to.
Great.
And this sort of brings up a quick point too, which is the difficulty that, what we have with this group that's kindly spending their Saturday with us is the folks who are paying attention, and who we really need are your neighbors. And all we have to work with is assessor's information, which is the mailing address, which could be in New York. And we can't contact that guy, and we can't tell them what this program's about. So the more the community, helps us push our messages out, the better. And we're happy to send you email blasts that you can send out, or social media posts. Just email us at wildfireadapted@Sonoma-County, sonoma-county.org.
Great. And we do have a comment saying that the website didn't let them take the interest survey because their property isn't in a project area.
That's true too.
And that is correct. We're only tying these interest surveys to folks that are in the project area. So thank you for your interest and wanting to help us get the funding for the rebate program.
And if you're getting that response, please do also send us an email. We have some areas in particular where there are glitches with assessors' parcel numbers, especially like Oddfellows area. but other areas as well where so if you hit the no, you're not eligible wall and you think you should be eligible for either signing up for your structure hardening or the interest survey, please pop us an email and we will follow up. We also are wanting to keep a sort of a heat map of where people are interested in programs such as this, so that moving forward, as we look for more projects and more funding, we'll know where there are already people who are interested. So
Great.
please email us.
Great. Next call to action is sign up for your home hardening consultation if you haven't already. These, we are not doing reassessments, so that's the next, the other type of assessment. These are your one and done home hardening consultations. We have about 200 left in the WA1 project areas, and they're only available through this summer, and there's only 200 left. So now is the time, if you haven't already, sign up. And if you already have, spread the word, talk to your neighbors. If you're in an eligible area, please encourage folks to get this free and awesome educational consultation. They're about more than a $300 value, and they're free to folks in the project areas.
You will learn so much. Everybody who's had one, if you liked it, put a thumbs up in the chat.
Mm-hmm. Great. Next call to action is sign up for a defensible space reassessment. These are done by our in-house awesome team of fire inspectors. And to ask for a reassessment, all you have to do is email Wildfire Adapted at sonoma-county.org. Thanks for that thumbs up. We appreciate it. For the home hardening assessments, feel free to keep them coming if you got one and you liked it. And then for the reassessments, for defensible space reassessments, again, email us. These are available through 2024, through this year. And we can update your information. We can provide the assessment if we weren't able to due to a locked gate. And you'll have a very educational and awesome conversation with our knowledgeable inspectors as they talk to you about your defensible space for your property. Great, thanks for the thumbs up. Okay, next call to action. Sign up for our email list. Go to SoCoAdapts.org. There will be a button towards the top of the web page to sign up for our email list. It'll take you to a screen that looks like the image on the right. Put in your email and sign up. Make sure you're on our email list so you can get all the most current information about the program. We only have mailing addresses for folks in our project areas because we only have assessors data. So we don't have an easy way to get the word out unless you opt in to our email list. Great. All right. Take it away, Caroleon.
Okay, so let's do the exciting behind the scenes changing of the share. And I'll walk you really quickly through our website so you can see some of the things that we've been talking about. And share over here. Share, there we go. So can everybody see my the website? Am I sharing?
Yes, looks good.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so this is SoCoAdapts.org. And all the stuff that we have on this page, we have all kinds of different things on here that are useful. A lot of information about the project. We are our new awesome communications team. Adrienne and Genevieve are working really hard to keep this updated. There's contact information at the bottom. So this is a really good place to go. I want to talk about how you sign up for how you figure out if you're in the project area and how you sign up for the things we've talked about. So there are a couple of ways you can do that. We have this check your eligibility button, which will ask for your assessor's parcel number. If you don't have that at the tip of your mind, you can click on this Wildfire Adapted map icon here, and that will take you to a map that will look like this. Blue parcels are improved parcels, and orange parcels are unimproved, which are both eligible for rebates in the program. And if you pop on any parcel, I'm picking this guy randomly. Here's the assessor's parcel number right at the top. This is in the state responsibility area. And you can click up here to see if you're eligible to receive a structure hardening assessment. So there's a lot of information that will be on the map. Eventually, we're going to start having even more as you move into the process. So that is one way you can get that APN if you need it. And that way, if you click the is my property eligible button on the main screen, which is either this one or take the interest survey, both of those are going to leave you to a screen that looks like this, where you can pop in either your address or your assessor's parcel number or APN. The APN is a much more accurate number than an address is for a variety of reasons. So if you pop that in and then you say search, you're going to find out that, oh gosh, it is in project area. There are still home assessments available in your area. And if you wanted to take that interest survey, you could then pop on the interest survey button and it will take you there. And if you haven't already filled it in, it'll take you to here. There's a lot of information about why we're doing this. And we're going to ask you, are you interested in a rebate? Yes, I am. If it ever comes, please. And we're talking a little bit about what's eligible. And here's the very basic question. Defensible space, vegetation management. Do you want to do home hardening or a combination? And again, we're not going to hold you to this. We just want to know you're interested in participating. Here you can enter your APN. So I happen to have that, so I'm just pasting it in. And now we're going to ask for your contact information, just so we know that our records and the assessor's records are the same, because sometimes it's a while before changes get to the assessor. So we're asking for all of this, even though it seems redundant. We do ask if you are listed on the assessor's record as the property owner. It does have to be the property owner who applies for these funds. So a renter can't apply for the rebate program. And if there are multiple property owners on your parcel, all of them will need to sign up to receive the rebate. So this is a get ahead of it note. We're just asking if you're interested. The Sonoma County Energy Independence Program can provide alternate financing for some of this work. We have a couple of slides about that. We're just asking if you're interested in that, and they will walk you through. And again, as Misha said earlier, this is not an authorization to go ahead and start doing your work. If you start doing work now, that work is not reimbursable. No retroactive funding, so we're asking you to acknowledge that. And then you just submit, and that's it. It shouldn't take you more than a couple of minutes. So that's the interest survey. Really, really simple. Please fill it out. The more of these we get, the more likely we are to get the full rebates that we asked for with our original grant proposal. Thoughts about I want to know where's something about, please feel free to email us with any questions or comments about the website. If there are things that you want to do that you don't see there, please reach out via email or phone. We're happy to get those comments, because every time we do one of these presentations, I know that Misha and Genevieve will agree, this is where we learn where the hiccups are. We learn more from these, I think, than you guys do sometimes. So we're very interested in your feedback. So please do feel free.
Brilliant. There's a question in the chat. It says, is there a common basis for identifying the project areas? Do you have any idea whether insurance companies are using same data sets as the county to ID high-risk areas? And I'm also going to put our survey in the chat.
The insurance companies have their own programs. Really important that we do not share the results from our defensible space or structure hardening assessments outside of the program. This is federally funded. This is public information. If someone put a records request in, we would have to provide information. But the insurance companies don't care what our assessments say. They want their own assessment. That said, the structure hardening assessments that are done by Madronas include in that report that we showed you earlier all of the criteria that are currently being used by the insurance industry for their inspections. This will give you a heads up should you get the letter from your insurance company telling you that you're a problem and you have to do all this stuff. If you get that structure hardening assessment from Madronas, you will have a very clear idea of what they're going to ask of you. So, yeah.
And one other question was, it looks like some of us were able to get the home hardening assessments, but are not in a project area for something eligibility. Does that sound right?
No, unless you paid for your structure
Rebate
assessment.
eligibility. Thank you.
If you got a structure assessment, you are eligible for the rebate program.
Yeah, so I would recommend just put the email and phone number that we put in the chat. Email us with your property address or APN, and we can let you know exactly what's going on there and what next steps might be best for you.
And that is really important information for us too, because if there's glitches in that APN addressing system, we really need to know that, and we don't know that unless we hear from you. So please let us know if you just checked and it said no, but you got the assessment. That's super important.
Okay, can move on. I think we covered most of the questions so far. Are we in?
Alrighty, so let me go back to the presentation now, which is over here. Sorry, this is kind of confusing on my end. Okay.
You're doing great. It's confusing on all ends.
Let's see. Are you seeing the
Your
webinar
website.
still? Website still. Okay. That's because I have to hit stop share. Then I have to find the share button. And now I have to find the thing again. There it is. There we go. So we've done the walkthrough, couple of last thoughts. We've done this poll, right? No, we haven't.
We haven't. This is a time for a poll. So I did notice a few of the, I got a couple of personal comments and questions, and also earlier on, it does seem like there's a lot of interest in just learning about general resources. So this webinar was specifically to update residents about the grant opportunities in our project areas and some of the finer details. But as you notice, we have a lot of expertise on the team. Caroleon and Misha are really subject matter experts in their own fields, and we have others on the fire prevention team that really know a lot about this stuff. So I do think there's interest in just general education, and we heard that at our last webinar, and Caroleon is an educator by nature, so keep your eyes out for that. Oh, I thought I launched that poll while I was talking. I'm sorry.
And again, too, we're happy to come out and do this in your community. If you reach out to us, my awesome consultant inspector staff can come out and we can do walkthroughs with multiple people. We can do all kinds of things to push the educational side of this. Just reach out.
This last poll won't launch. I think maybe I only scheduled the Zoom for an hour. I'm not sure. It says that it's out of time. But if you could put the topics that you're interested in for future webinars or future education opportunities in the chat, we will download the chat and incorporate that into future programming. Sorry about that, Caroleon. My poll's not working.
It happens. All righty. So moving on. Other programs that can help you. The Sonoma County Chipper Program, free chipper program, which has been ongoing for many, many years now. You cut it and stack it for defensible space. We will send a chipper and a crew out to chip up the debris. This is a great way to help deal with your defensible space. And you can learn more about it at the website that we show here. I think it's easier just to Google Sonoma County chipper and it'll pop you straight to here. This time of year, sometimes there's a bit of a wait. The wait list is not terrible typically. And so this is a really good existing resource to help you get rid of woody debris before fire season hits tomorrow. Fire Safe Sonoma, which is an awesome resource for education and also programs, just launched a new program to help people, especially disabled, low income, or seniors or minority folks in the Boys Hot Springs and Cloverdale areas to complete defensible space. You can learn more about that at firesafesonoma.org. And Safer West County also has a rebate program going that you can read more about at saferwestcounty.org. So if you're in the Occidental, Camp Meeker, Forestville, or Monterey areas, you could get $1,000. That would be probably a much easier lift than getting that money from FEMA. So do check them out. And financing Skype program, Sonoma County Energy Independence Program does financing for a variety of things. And they started out doing ecologically friendly things like solar panels and stuff. But now they have a wildfire resilient improvement program. That's great. They've funded over $2 million in the last couple of years. Most of the financing they do is in the $15,000 to $20,000 range. There's no income or credit qualifying. It's paid back through the county tax bill system. Low fees, there is a 7.9% fixed interest. And you can learn more about that. And this is a great way if you want to expand the benefit of the $10,000 rebate or get work done before that comes along. So you can reach out to Skype and learn a lot more about the Skype program. It is a great program. They've done a wonderful job. So there we go. That's the end of our slides. We want to thank you again for spending your Saturday morning with us here. And if we have time, we can do a few more questions.
I'll just point out that I did put the Survey Monkey in the chat. So it's the very last thing, and it says www.surveymonkey/r/SoCo. So that's the link that we really need you to fill out in this moment to tell us your email for entry into the Freedman's gift card. It'll also help us ensure we have updated contact information, and we can send you a copy of today's slide presentation. So that's a really important survey. I know we've talked a lot about different resources and links, and they are all in the chat. Tried to give you all as much information as we could. I hope it wasn't too much. Please give us some feedback. Let us know what you're interested in learning more about in the future. Let us know how we did and get entered to win a Freedman's gift card. The other way to get entered to win is to complete that interest survey. That's a different link. That's says /property lookup, because you have to look up your property before you can express your interest in the survey. So a few different resources in the chat. Are there any questions about the links that we provided in the chat specifically, or about sort of next steps, calls to action, the resources that we've given you? Martha has raised her hand.
Yes, I have a question. I filled out the survey, the one for the Freeman's gift card, but after I finish, they go to the another one to say I have to customize something, the survey. I have to put my email, create a new account.
No, you shouldn't have to. Once you've completed the survey, it should be fine. So don't do anything else. Just complete the survey and you should be good. I've not heard of that, so I'm not sure what's going on, but there's no additional information required.
And the other one, I do the other one, but they say this only working for home owner because I live in an apartment.
Oh.
Martha, you can always email Wildfire Adapted at sonoma-county.org, and our team member can get on a call with you and look at what you're looking at and talk through what's going on. But yeah, if you're for the interest survey, anyone can fill it out that is in a property that is in the eligible area, including renters. But eventually for the rebate program itself, it'll have to be the property owner that fills it out. So if you're a renter, and there are many folks in your situation, and we're working on improving materials around this, but we really want to encourage landlords to do this work because that's very, very critical. So anything we can do to support you in working with your landlord, we're happy to do.
Okay, because last year I lost my apartment. I live in an apartment for almost 20 years and I have a fire. And it's interesting. I take all the classes about fire. And when it happened, I'm thinking and say, why this happened to me? I know all the information, I left the house at 7. By 10:30, they call me and they say, your house on fire. I don't know how was they do all the investigation. They say they don't find where the fire come from. I lost everything. And that's what, when I see the email, you guys send it and I say, oh no, I'm interested in this. I have to be in this webinar because I want to learn more. And I put my address and they said, sorry, you're not eligible to be in this. I said, all right. And that's why I asked, is only for the homeowner but it's a good idea to help with the property, with the renter too, because we worry about the fires. I already passed one and it's horrible. When you lose everything, you lose your pet inside, it's horrible.
Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry you went through that. And yeah, it's very important for landlords to be aware of these opportunities and to be supported to do this work. And we want to support renters from living in fire safe buildings.
And you do have to be in one of those project areas to be eligible too. So
it's interesting. Somebody, the person we were talking about earlier, said that they were not eligible with their address, but they were eligible when they did it with the APN.
that's one of the reasons I really encourage folks to use the APN.
Interesting.
Because sometimes the address that is in the assessor system is something that you have never heard of. That's not that unusual. Or it's on your house is on a corner. The assessor has it on that street, but you think it's this street. So that's why the APNs are so great. And so just if you can navigate to your parcel on the map, pop on the parcel, there's your APN. That's the cleanest way to do this.
And following off of the last question, there was something earlier that said, how do we get our communities on board? How do we share this information? What advice do you have for influencing others around you? And same for the question now, like what advice would you give somebody who's interested in influencing?
Yeah, it can be a real challenge out there in the communities. And that's one of the things that I think we've really learned in implementing Wildfire Adapted is that when we conceived and wrote these grants, I was like, oh, we're going to have to be beating them up with sticks. They're going to be clamoring for those structure assessments. We're going to give them what we're going to have to limit them. And it's been actually very difficult to get people on board. And I think there are a lot of reasons for that. People are worried about what we're going to do with the information and we're Permit Sonoma. Are you going to come after us? The answer is no, absolutely not. I'm not doing that. We're interested in not having your house burned down. That's what we're trying to do. The insurance companies are a huge concern. A lot of folks out there, if you live in an area where there are a lot of second homeowners or temporary rentals, or those folks are really hard to get on board with this stuff. And it is a challenge. And we are constantly working on how to do that. My experience over the years is that the best thing is to show up on site and do walkarounds with folks so that somebody who's really knowledgeable, who has fought many, many fires and have seen many houses catch on fire, can say that could burn your house down and you can fix that. I think that sometimes that's really inspirational for neighborhoods. The challenge is getting people to show up. And so that is something that we can't do for you from the outside. That's where we really need your help. To help us gather interest in your community. And we'll be working a lot more on that moving forward, I can tell you, because in our lessons learned, that was my biggest lesson learned, was that I thought if we just had the money, they're gonna all show up. Turns out it's not. We have to convince people that this work is important. It's important for the environment. It's important for all of our emotional safety when we lose our stuff. But we have to change hearts and minds, and then structure hardening will follow. So if you can help us get them there, we'll help sell the program.
That's a great closing statement. We definitely takes a village. It takes everybody. It's at 11:30, so I want to be mindful of our time commitments of the presenters and of our participants. If you have any other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to the Wildfire Adapted email that we've put in the chat several times. We're always here for you. Complete the Survey Monkey survey to give us your email and your feedback on today's webinar. And please keep your eye out for future opportunities to engage with our SoCoAdapts team.
Have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go out and enjoy that beautiful day.